One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free. So let me be free. One day I'm gonna be free. Mentally and physically, emotionally and spiritually. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I'm standing at the crossroads. I'm feeling like a lost soul. Don't know where I wanna go, but all I know is I wanna be free. They're telling me to let it be, but that just ain't in me, no. Jealousy and envy, but all I see is I wanna be free. See everything I wanna be, exactly what I'm gonna be. Don't let it get the most of me. Eventually, I'm gonna be free. See everything I wanna be, exactly what I'm gonna be. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I'm gonna be free. Let me be free. One day I'm gonna be free. Mentally and physically, emotionally and spiritually. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I told them take their aim off me. Stop trying to get a name off me. If they would just let me be, I'm gonna be free. I told them take them chains off me and throw away the locks and keys. If they would just let me be, eventually I'm gonna be free.
They're back.
What up, though? 7 days, we back again for another episode of Dominant Effect. I'm March Bishop. We got Mike Ball, and we got a pretty good show for you tonight. Before we get started, I want to welcome everybody. Thank y'all for coming out and supporting and watching. Don't forget to hit that like button. That's what gets us out on the right algorithm for more people can watch these shows. That's actually a lot better than any super chat or anything else you could possibly give. That's what gets us where we need to be and get more people informed of the stuff that we're actually talking about. So, but we're gonna jump right into this today, and we kind of toned it down from the regular stuff that we talking about, just simply because we got a little experiment here.
Yep.
So we're gonna tone it down for the next couple of shows just to see if that's exactly what it is. I'm not gonna say what it is, but somebody can probably pretty much guess what we got going on. But so we're gonna jump into it. So nowadays people are working a lot harder than ever, thinking more than ever, trying more than ever. And yet, for so many people, that progress feels slower than it used to. A lot of our dreams feel delayed, directions feel unclear, and motivation just doesn't come as easy as it once did. And what makes it even heavier is that most people feel that they're the only ones that's going through it. But tonight, we're going to show a little bit of this and that, but we're going to slow everything down for a moment and really look at what's happening beneath the surface. Because what if this feeling of being stuck isn't just personal? What if it's something bigger than that? What if it's something in the world, in our minds, and even in the way life itself is actually changing? This isn't going to be one of those conversations filled with quick motivation or simple answers. This is more of a deeper look. And that's why so many people feel paused in a time that seems to be moving pretty fast. And hopefully by the end of this, my hope is that you won't just understand the feeling, but you might start to see your own situation in this in a completely different light. So that's what we're going to dive into today. And a lot of people, I think, really don't understand why this feeling is showing up and showing up in so many people's lives as of now. And we have to start with the most simple thing first, but the most simple thing is also the most powerful thing. And that's the fact that this isn't just happening to a few people. This is happening to millions of people. And there is shared emotional weight in this world today that a lot of people are feeling, but only very few people can actually put it into words. So we're going to start there. So let's talk about the feeling everybody has, but really can't explain. Because if you listen closely to the conversation people have in private, none of the ones that you actually hear online, not the ones that people post for the world to see, the post that everybody living their best life, that's a lie. But the quiet, honest conversations that you have behind closed doors, and you start to hear the same theme repeating itself over and over again. And a lot of people are saying things like, I'm trying, but it feels like I'm getting nowhere. I thought I'd be further along by now. By this age, I should have been here. I'm working hard, but sometimes it still feels off. And what makes this feeling so heavy isn't the struggle itself, it's the confusion that comes along with it. But many of the people feeling this way, they didn't give up, they didn't stop trying, they followed the rules that we were taught to follow. Work hard, stay focused, and just keep pushing forward. And for a long time, that formula seemed to have worked. But effort was supposed to lead to progress. That's what we grew up believing. And progress was supposed to lead to stability, and stability was supposed to lead to peace. But for a lot of people right now in this day and age, that chain kind of feels broken. And when effort no longer guarantees that movement, the human mind doesn't just feel tired, it starts to feel stuck. Not stuck because of laziness, but stuck because the lack of desire. And some kind of that overall feeling of stuck kind of gets deeper in a more unsettling way, I'd say. The kind of stuff that makes you quietly wonder, is something wrong with me, or is something changing around the world and I just not know about it, or is everything changing and I'm just stuck in the same spot? And that question right there is something that that's in a lot of households these days. I mean, like I said, in those private conversations, these are some of the stuff that you think about. Maybe some of the stuff that you don't even divulge to other people, but you just have in your mind. And when you really sit on that question, is something wrong with me, or is something changing in the world around me? Then you begin to realize something something that's real important. Um, and that's that feeling of being stuck, feeling isolated. But you're not isolated. And it's not a rare thing that goes on. Everybody goes through it. And it's not something that's happening with a small group of people who just happen to make the wrong choices. It's showing up across different age gaps, different careers, different cities, even different
Right.
countries. And whenever that feeling becomes that widespread, the psychology side kind of tells you to look beyond the individual and start examining the environment that people are actually living in, because human beings are deeply connected to the conditions that's around them. When the environment feels stable, people feel hopeful. When the environment feels uncertain, people feel anxious. And when the environment feels like it's constantly shifting and without an actual clear direction, then people begin to be stuck in place, even if they're moving every single day and doing the same thing that you normally did every single day, repetitiously. And that's one of the strongest parts of this modern type movement that we're going through now, because on the surface it looks busy and people are working and people are posting and people are
Yeah, they're going to work Monday through Friday. They're doing and they're rightfully actually working, doing all of that stuff. And of course, all of a sudden now, what you used to be able to afford, you can't anymore. You can't do much with the money that we do now have. It doesn't stretch. Everything is expensive. Inflation's up. All of it.
right, right. But along with that, um, on the mental side and the emotional side, a lot of people just kind of feel like they're just standing still. And that particular disconnect between the outer movement and the inner stillness, that's the exhausting part to all of this, because movement usually gives us energy, process, and the process of this usually gives us the actual motivation to keep going and to keep striving and trying and striving to strive. Um, but when that motion stops producing meaning, then every small task feels like it's the heaviest thing on earth. And that's why the simple things daily begins to feel harder, not because people become weaker, but because of the uh, what was the word I would say? The psychological reward system that used to fuel effort,
Mm-hmm.
and it isn't firing the same way that it used to. And for a long time, that process felt visible. You could see yourself getting closer to something stable and something secure.
Your bank account's growing. You might now can afford a car. You got a down payment for a house building up. Something.
Right. Right. Something that would kind of make all the hard work that you're doing
Worth it.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. But when that future kind of starts feeling uncertain, then the brain has trouble trying to stay motivated, so to speak. And because that motivation is tired, then the belief of tomorrow is kind of like, I mean, it's not going to be any different than today. And then all at once, just slowly over time, until you decide to wake up and realize that you're doing everything that you're actually supposed to do, but the feeling of that forward motion isn't just there anymore. And that's usually the moment when people start to blame themselves. That's where you get I'm 50 years old and I should have been way further than where I am right now.
Right. Got nothing to show for. Maybe you're renting a place and you're struggling to even pay your car note.
Right, right. And you sit back and you wonder whether you whether you wasted time or you look at certain things in your life and say, you know what, I spent way too much time on that. I should have actually let that go and moved on years ago. And because they felt, because they hung on a little longer than they should have, and now they have that stuck feeling, you know.
Yeah.
And then they wonder if everything else, like if everybody else kind of figured something else out and you just forgot, you didn't get the memo that day as to, okay, this is how we're doing this.
Well, people are also stubborn in their ways too. Once they are set, like I've been doing it this exact way for 30 years. I was doing all right, and now all of a sudden it's not good enough, you know? And yeah, that realistically is the I mean, I saw this in the, well, not personally, in the ILWU in the 30s when cranes were coming in and stuff like that. They were unloading ships kind of like by hand and doing all that stuff. So when these things came out with like the, not just picking up big lumps of like logs or whatever, they're actually picking up containers. They were like, no, we're going to lose, you know, thousands and thousands of jobs just because of that. They called it like automation back then. But realistically, it was just technology advancing and the world ship shifting around you. So you have to like recognize like, okay, this is changing before my eyes now, and this is when I need to be proactive. And that's what I was saying last week on kind of a similar topic is, you know, people are also not, they're convinced and convicted in their stance, so much so that they cannot look at objective facts and go, okay, I need to pivot here, because their ego tells them, no, this is, you know what's best.
Right. You know, I think that what makes this moment so important is that people need to understand that self-blame that's usually the first reaction that you give. You start blaming yourself, but it's way more deeper than that, because, you know, think about it. Throughout history, you had people where entire generations felt uncertain about the direction that they were going in. You know, times when old rules stopped working, but the new rules hadn't fully appeared yet, and people was kind of living inside those moments without always feeling the same thing. You got the confusion, you got the pressure, that quiet fear of being left behind, or everything else is speeding up and you still in the same spot. But later, if you read where a lot of those historians kind of look back at some of those old moments, and they kind of considered it as it's like a turning point. It's not actually an ending, but it's the transition from one to the other.
Now, it's kind of like a circle, though, that we fall into, like this whole generational kind of thing, where it's not correspondent to a generation, but to economies, like back, you know, for instance, in the Depression and stuff like that, when people were growing up during that time. It was a totally different landscape than what we know it to be today, you know, for instance.
Mm-hmm. Now, a question for the audience that's listening in. What if this feeling of being stuck isn't only about personal struggle? I'm gonna say it again. What if this feeling of being stuck isn't only about personal struggle? What if it's connected to living through time of change that hasn't fully revealed itself yet, or what's about to become? What's the, you know, because right now we're going into a new, right now in life is actually a transition period. There's a lot of new stuff that's going on, a lot of AI going on. You got the digital IDs, and you have the CBD.
And this is way outside of your own self-control.
Right. And it's totally different than what we're used to, grew up knowing, or whatever. It's going to end up being a huge change.
Right.
I mean,
so it's another turning point.
Right. And like when we was talking last week, we was talking about the jobs, and so many different companies now are laying people off and closing down and stuff like that. And a lot of these people are wondering, like, okay, what am I going to do next? And we were talking about going in and learning AI and coding and stuff like that. But that's only a certain number of jobs for a certain number of people. You know what I mean? And when that's full, what do you do? Where are you going to go from there? You know what I mean? And a lot of people sit back. I mean, especially right now with a lot of these companies that's actually laying off. They're laying off thousands of people at a time. There's not enough jobs to go out and, if you got 3,000 people that got laid off, there's not 3,000 jobs sitting in that area waiting to get picked up.
Correct.
You know what I mean? You're going to have to figure out, okay, what's next? Am I going to try here? Do I need to move somewhere else?
Do I need to get into trucking?
Anything, what I mean? That's a lot of stuff that's going to go on. How am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to do this? Why is it that when I first heard the rumor of them thinking about that they may do this, I didn't leave then? You know what I mean? I didn't try to do something at that point. You know what I mean? So there's a whole lot to it. The what was it? It was a question I was getting ready to ask you.
Well, the question I wanted to ask was, for instance, social media is a humongous shapeshifter of the world as well. You talked about technology, AI, and stuff like that. I mean, I would assume. I shouldn't assume anything. Let me prepare the question first. I think that, or let me go ahead and just read it out loud. Has social media made the feeling of being stuck worse? And I'm going to automatically go to yes, because not only when people are doing well, they're going to post what they're doing, but also when they're doing bad, they don't just show them doing bad. They'll actually show a fake facade of themselves. So they could be totally broke, but doing pictures in freaking jet setting and big gold chains that are all fake, fake money on their lap with a fake gun on it. So these lifestyles are really a facade. There's not many people living like that on a day-to-day basis.
True. And I think that once social media came in at full force like it is now,
right?
People
where everybody's got it now.
Right. People look at other people's Facebook and they get this predeceived notion that everything is peaches and cream on their side. That they're living their best life, and they find themselves living vicariously through someone else. You know what I mean? But that's not reality, because usually the ones that's on there that's talking about their life is so grand, it's actually in shit.
Yes.
But that's not what they're going to put out.
Of course not.
You see a lot of these different even on the podcast, you had podcasts, different reality shows like that you watching, and it's showing that everything is great. They doing all this great stuff, making all these tremendous moves and making all this money. And then
nothing but a boulevard of green lights. It's
exactly.
Perfect.
And then you hear about them a year later that they're about to divorce, or this one got caught doing this, and this one about to go to jail for this.
Yeah. Really, that's real shit.
Right. And you sitting back looking like, wow, like we've been watching them for years, and we thought
these guys were madly in love with each other, and these guys are cheating on each other actually, and like all sorts of weirdness. Yeah.
Right.
It's all fake. It's a facade, and I think it's something that, truthfully, it's bad for our culture in that aspect. And that's why I've never used my platform, for instance, to do any of that. Like, I've never flexed money and like all that, the typical, what I've got kind of thing. It was just always, for me, it was like a connection thing for me. It was like a genuine connection that I was finding with people.
Right. you see on, let's say on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, you see a lot of these stories, and with some of them, that it's a little bit too good to be true. And when everybody only knows you through social media, then you can be whoever you want them to be.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You can make up the whole thing could be completely fake, and you actually see them in person, and you like, wow, I thought you was like this for real.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And you get
they tell you not to meet your heroes,
right, and and they a lot of them is like that. You know what I mean? There's certain people that I've we done podcasts together, or I done seen them on Facebook putting their stuff on there. People that I actually know, and I'm like, and I laugh every time I see it because I know it's bullshit.
Yeah, 100,000%.
Right. I know they perpetrating a fraud, and I mean it's like it's a whole bunch of.
But people will still do it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because
it's a good way to get themselves caught up in some bullshit, though.
Well, you could, but for the average person, they're thinking, what is the chances that I'm gonna ever see this person in real life?
Mm-hmm.
What's the chances in that? You know what I mean? Very, very slim. Unless you just see them out in public somewhere, or you just happen to be where they're at.
I get that in a realistic setting. Yes, 99.9999% of the people that you encounter with online, you probably won't meet in person or in whatever in a real life setting. But listen, man, I've been around long enough and on the internet long enough to know that is some bullshit. I have absolutely met and come across people that I thought I never would, and it was totally unexpected. Like in my own area or city or whatever the case is. Yeah, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that whole thing. No one's invincible and no one's bulletproof.
That is true. That is true. Let's talk about the economic pressure that nobody's really prepared for right now. And to really understand why this pressure feels different right now, we have to look at something that many people kind of sense quietly and don't talk about it loud. And that's the feeling that this version of stability that we see right now has actually coming to an end. It's actually starting to expire. And it's becoming way harder to reach. And for a long time, life kind of followed that rhythm that felt predictable. You know what I mean? Not perfect, not easy, but understandable. And you could actually look up and kind of picture what's going to happen ahead. You know what I mean? You can see that light at the end of the tunnel. And when that path is visible, even a struggle that you're going through seems meaningful because you feel like, okay, I got to go through this in order to make it to this next level. You know what I mean? This isn't struggle. This is preparation. This is preparing me for the next stage that I'm getting ready to go through. But one of the deepest emotional shifts that's happening right now is that many people can no longer fully see that path. And your career kind of seems a little less secure. Your long-term planning feels uncertain. And even when your future becomes a little bit blurry, that present tense, the present stuff that's going on starts to feel a whole lot heavier. And that's when that emotion of feeling left behind begins to grow. And not always because someone actually failed. It's because the timeline itself has changed. You know, your milestones that you once had earlier, now they're delayed. And a lot of people go through that. They have that path set out that I need to do this, and this in order to make it there. And the first time something comes in as a roadblock, throws them completely off. And then they don't know what they're going to do then. And that whole stability that they thought that was reachable, now it feels like it's a million miles away. And that's when that expectation stays the same, but the reality kind of shifts underneath them, and kind of like you pulling a rug from up under them. And a lot of people start to blame themselves first off.
Mm-hmm.
And then what's that emotional result from that? You know, you feel stuck, you feel tired, you feel
Anxiety, fear,
unsure of what direction that you're going to go to, and where you're going to go from here. You know, that's generally what happens. The first thing that you initially do is blame yourself. First thing, okay, what did I do wrong? I must have did something wrong, but this wouldn't have took place if I didn't do, you know what I mean? Sometimes it's not about you. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's not about even the path that you're going in. And
right.
Stuff is always built to intrude. Everything is not always supposed to just come to you the way it comes. Like it's supposed to just be like handed to you on a silver platter. Like, here you go. What you going to do with it?
People have to learn how to actually expect roadblocks in their logistical plannings and all of that, whether, business or any of that. You have to learn how to deal with that. That is what you're going to be met with all the time. And people oftentimes quit after it because they can't handle it. And that's going to separate people as well on a class level.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you this question. Why do you think many adults feel like they're behind in life? What I mean by that is people that are, my age, probably a little bit younger, that feel that, okay, I'm 45, I'm 50, I'm 48, and my plan was I was supposed to be way further than where I am right now.
Totally.
You know what I mean? And being the fact that I'm not where I wanted to be, now I feel like that I'm just behind. I mean, so why do you think?
Well, on a personal, what I think it's mismanaged priorities. I think also people thought, hey, if I do this, I get a job, I work hard at this for 30 years, I'll have a house, I'll have a wife and kids and all this shit. And meanwhile, you're barely surviving, barely holding your head above water. And I think that people need to set themselves up a little bit better and not, for instance, I know many relationships where that is the crumble of the man, for instance. Like, you let it all go because of a situation like that, when everyone, even including his own friends, are like, dude, that is trouble. You got to leave that whole. There's downfalls. People make decisions, unfortunately, that are going to be a downfall for people. For instance, like people that are buying houses that are way too fucking much house for the money that they've got, legitimately. And now you're setting yourself up actually for failure. And mismanaged of priorities is the main answer from it. Mm-hmm. And not knowing how to like live below their means and stuff like that. Those are all major things that everyone does have control over. But we are, as Americans, we are the number one consumers of everything. We've got to have the nicest car because we're envious people. The neighbor comes by with a brand new car. Shit, now I gotta fucking get a new car. You know what I mean? that is America 101. So we need to stop doing stuff like that and avoid stupid decisions.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I said earlier, which kind of pertains to this question, is when I said that your timeline changed, but your expectations didn't. And what I mean by that is people set their plans up years ago. Okay. For instance, when people get out of high school, they're going to say, okay, I'm going to go to college, or I'm going to go to military, or this. And then once I do that, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this.
And meanwhile, during that time frame, AI comes out and shit. Like everything is changing around you. Now your plans that you made,
Right.
yeah,
So once something comes in that disrupts that timeline, then to some people they feel that that's where they're stuck at,
yep,
instead of being able to adapt,
yep,
and overcome.
and pivot if
Right.
needed.
Make a new plan
Yep,
and go with that plan. Because everything ain't always going to go on plan A.
that's facts.
You're going to need that plan B, that plan C. You know what I mean? And should be what you should be thinking about when you make your initial plan is, okay, I'm going to make, this is my plan here. Now, if this doesn't work, I need to go this route. When I see this, and this happening, this is my cue to switch over to plan B. Because if I don't, this is what's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yep.
A lot of people don't think ahead. They don't think long term. They think right now. You know what I mean? What is it that I can do right now that's going to get me what I need to get? And a lot of them live strictly off the right now, as opposed to making these plans, realizing that things are going to happen. You're going to have delays. You're going to have little pits along the way.
And they're not planning for that either.
But you plan for that.
Mm-hmm.
You plan
need
for
to.
that to happen.
You
So
need
when
to.
it comes, you see it before it gets there, and you can move decisively.
That's right. That's major facts.
So we're gonna, and that was kind of part of the next one the next section to this that I was going to talk about, and it's more along the lines of I would say the mental burnout part to this.
Totally.
And because just with the economic pressure alone doesn't fully explain why people feel stuck. It's just a part of it. Because there's always another layer to it, a more quieter, more invisible part, just as powerful, and that's your overall mental exhaustion.
It could be even more powerful than,
Because the normal kind of tired that you go through, 8 hours of sleep will fix. But the deeper kind that builds slowly from constant stimulation, constant information, the world that never fully turns off, like we talked about last week, how you can do everything you need to do 24 hours a day. So you never give yourself time to actually fully shut down, you know what I mean, to be able to fully rest. When you go to sleep, you wake up, your mind's still going. You know what I mean? It felt like you never went to sleep, and the same issue or drama that you was dealing with when you close your eyes is the same thing that's going to automatically hit you as soon as your eyes open up. You're going to fall right back into it.
Well, when you live in a lifestyle where all you do is put Band-Aids on things that throughout your day, you're nonstop just putting out fires, you're living in that now moment, where you can't really truly, if you can't have some sort of hope and seeing some sort of light at the end of the tunnel, that's gonna be taxing on one, and I would imagine it probably could shave many, many years off of your life.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, if you think about it, people were never designed to process this much input in a single day. And for most of history, life kind of moved at a way slower pace than what we're doing now. You had slow mornings, you had quiet evenings, you had real conversations instead of, just text
anxiety, fear, the uneasing feeling of I might lose all this shit. I might lose it all. I could. Right. I miss one paycheck. I'm done.
That's true. I mean, but even with that, you take go back some years from now, where the average person would go to work, come home, before we had actual social media and the internet or whatever.
Right.
They went to work, they came home, they had dinner, family talked, they actually sit at the same table, talked, about the day, what went on, what the kids did, whatever. They had their time where they, maybe they sat around and watch TV for a little bit, or help the kid with their homework, or go outside and play with the boys or whatever. You had that time. What I mean? It was actually meaningful.
But
now that you think about it, it was meaningful. Now, what do you have? You come home,
everyone's on their phone.
Right. Everybody on their phone. You grab your plate, you sit in the living room, everybody's spaced out throughout the house. What I mean? Most of the time you're on your phone doing either you on some social media site, or you playing a game or whatever. The kids, they in the room playing PS5 or whatever they doing, and that whole family dynamic is spaced.
Yep. I hate nothing. I hate more when I go to a restaurant, and I go out very often. When I go out to eat, there's nothing more that actually disturbs me when you've got a whole family sitting at a table eating. There's 4 people to this booth, and they're all on their phones. No one's talking. Everyone's just. I mean, I just cannot stand that shit.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe people allow that.
Yeah,
and within their own self. I mean, at least when you're out, let's at least pretend to like talk and know each other.
Right. You know what? That is one huge pet peeve to me. One huge one is when we're out to dinner and you on your phone. That irritates the hell out of me. Being the fact that, anything that you looking on your phone on, whether you texting or watching something, you can easily do that when we're done.
100,000%.
It's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere.
I promise you.
They can wait until we get done.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's not important. You know what I mean? Unless they blowing you up and it's 911 and you got to answer. Other than that, leave your phone off. You know what I mean? I've shut mine completely down, put it in my pocket.
Yep.
It sit there and hum and vibrate and all other. I deal with it when I'm done. You know what I mean? Because that's respect.
Absolutely.
You know
Absolutely. 1,000%. Nothing's more valuable than someone's time.
Right. And after all the day that you just spent doing whatever, whether it was work or running around or whatever, for this hour, this is our time. Uninterrupted. Don't have to deal with anybody else until we're done and we feel like dealing with them. You know what I mean? But as of right now, we're not doing none of that. But like I said, a lot of right now, our mind is pulled in 1,000 different directions all at once. So you have, between the news and the text messages and, like I said, social media and the infinite scrolling that we do on a regular basis. Because, the first time we get bored of something, first thing we do, pull out the phone, get scrolling. That's what we used to do.
And then magically you're doing that while laying in bed. Oh, I'll just watch this while I go to bed. Meanwhile, now you're up all night because your mind is engaged to that topic or whatever's playing, and you don't fall asleep.
Right. Because at that point, when you do it like that, like you was just talking about, the brain never gets what they call true silence.
Right.
And it never fully recovers. So over time,
very important to have that.
Right. So over time, that kind of creates this. This is something that they call what do they call it? Chronic fatigue. That's what they call it. And what a lot of that looks like is basically low motivation, difficulty focusing, emotional numbness, brain fog. What a lot of people say. And even just the small task that you do kind of requires more energy than it used to. You know what I mean? Being the fact that you're just drained. You know what I mean? Because the nervous system kind of has this low level stress. So after too long, what happens? It begins to shut down.
That's right.
But like we live in a day and age now that the world never truly turns itself off. You know what I mean? And being that it doesn't, and we have full access that we can do whatever we want, whenever we want, You know what I mean? It's all we got to do is just either jump on the phone or jump on a computer or a laptop or iPad,
TV.
whatever it is, and do it. You never take that time for yourself. You know what I mean? And I got a bad habit of doing that too. So
Me too. I think if we're honest with ourselves, a lot of people here probably have that problem.
right. And you know, it's better to talk about something like that when you actually experience it yourself. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's way different when you have someone talking to you about something that they never went through.
Right.
Because the first thing you're gonna say is that, how can you say that? You
Yeah.
don't go through
You
that.
can't even relate. Right.
Right. You know what I mean? So you can only relate with what you've been through.
That's right.
You know, you had to experience it. You had to go through take the punches, take the hits. You know what I mean?
Learn the hard way, whatever it is.
You know, like they say back in the day, you take the meat and throw away the bones. Take the learning experience out of it, but then after you learn from it, then you throw that to the side. Now you can turn around and take that same learning experience and give it to somebody else that you see is getting ready to go through that same thing that you already done experience. You know what I mean? Some will listen, some won't. You know what I mean? But it's
not your responsibility that they take the advice. It's your responsibility to say it in the first place. That's it.
Exactly. So you know, like a lot of stuff now dealing with people, you know what I mean, especially the ones that, you know, has gotten to the point that they're blaming themselves or whatever, and feeling lost, feeling stuck, feeling like they, you know, they're in this one rotating circle that never has an opening for them to be able to branch out. And they have that whole loss of direction, or not really loss of direction, the loss of meaning for that direction.
Hope and stuff like that. I think that is a humongous, I think the main driver for human beings is that there's hope at the end of this, that I'm going to come out and go to the light at the end of the tunnel, you know, kind of thing. But if you start losing that, yeah, morality goes down the shitter.
Exactly. I mean, it's all dealing with what is meaningful to you. You know what I mean? And anything that is meaningful to you, you will actually do more to achieve it. Now you think about this. Most people can endure incredible hardship when it feels meaningful. If they know that they got to go through this right here in order to get this, they'll do it with no problem.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Because they see that it's an opening there.
That's
what I was talking about, the circle. You got an opening. Okay, I'm going through this right now, and it may suck. It absolutely sucks. But I know that if I go through this is when I'm going to end up getting on this back end.
Yes.
And they have no problem doing it.
Yes.
But when it becomes unclear as to what's going to go on, then you get the empty feeling. And for generations now, people have found that direction through, you know, like shared structures, whether it's community, your religious beliefs, your long-term goals, just a clear sense of where you belong. And that kind of gives people a little bit more freedom, so to speak. Because you have, let me see, how can I put this? More freedom, but sometimes a little less direction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And with that, you have like an unlimited choice. Without guidance, you can quietly overcome it. It doesn't seem overwhelming because that question changes from how do I live to what is the right life to live at all. So you have both choices there. And that kind of uncertainty doesn't just confuse the mind, it confuses the soul. And when that direction disappears, the motivation dealing with that loss disappears with it as well. Which again feels like being stuck on one end, but sometimes that loss of meaning is not the end of that purpose. It's just a space from where this new cycle is actually coming in that you have to, that you're going. Like I said a little bit ago, you can, as long as you know where you're headed, a lot of the obstacles that you're going through, you don't even care about. You look over them. You know what I mean? You'll fight through them. You know what I mean?
I think we're testament to stuff like that. Look at this. I made this, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago. People don't have the patience to dedicate 3 years to building their own business, but they do have the patience to work for others for 40 years. That's an example of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm willing to go through hell today so I can live freedom and without cuffs later.
Right. And there's been entire generations that has felt this before. This generation now is the more modern part of it. But go back from through the colonial days into where you had the Wild West era, into the next era. You know what I'm saying? There's all of them had changes. And people had to adapt to those changes. Now, the stuff that's going on now, some stuff you can agree with, a lot of stuff you can't. You know
right.
what I mean? Because now everything is about knowing, about the outside knowing everything dealing with you.
It's all data.
Right. What's in your bank account? Mm-hmm. What's in your house? What are you doing? I seen a commercial the other day, and as soon as I seen it, I was like, this is total bullshit.
Right.
They had this Ring camera commercial and was like, what happens if your dog runs away? And it shows the Ring cameras picking up on, all around your neighborhood.
So like a flock camera.
Right. to be able to show
for dogs
where your dog was. And this is why you need this Ring camera.
Yeah, bullshit. That is some bullshit.
You're doing that because you are completely trying to center off that section where you can monitor everything.
You can literally track everything.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like flock cameras, the same shit.
Right. Now you sit here and talk about the dog, man. Man, fuck the dog. He knows when he ran from the house, he know how to get home. If he don't know how to get home, oh well.
Yep, shit is what it is.
Right. He, what I mean? I hope he finds
get good.
Right, he'll make his way back. Shit, Lassie always did. He can too.
Yeah, that's right. If he's worth a shit.
Right, but they put this stuff out here, and they make it seem like that it's this big help, that this is gonna help you. You know what I mean? But in all actuality, the only thing it is just another surveillance tool.
Yeah, you're trading. What is that whole old school saying? When you're trading comfort for free, you're trading freedom for comfort. You deserve neither.
Yeah.
It's something like that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I won't be able to say it correctly.
Yeah. But nonetheless.
Yeah, but that's exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But it was more along the sense of the more you ask the government, the less freedom you have.
Freedom for liberty. There it is.
It's this world now. It's more surveillance. It's more watching. They just had the World Economic Forum here recently, and they were talking about the whole surveillance thing. Basically saying, if you know that we're watching you, then you will act better.
Well, I think that goes for the police.
That ain't stopping them.
No, it's definitely not stopping them.
No, they ain't stopping them.
No, they don't give a shit.
No, not at all.
They'll do it right in front of your face and on camera. No problem.
Now we kind of jumped off of that just for a minute, but it was said to mean times is changing, and just like with all the other generation, this is more advanced change, and it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be rocky for a little bit.
Well, and unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of people that don't make it in these kind of things because they refuse to transition or adapt or pivot or whatever the case is, and that's scary for people.
Right. I mean, I'll be the first one to tell you, I don't want them to have full reign to where they know what's in my bank account.
Of course not.
Where this is an actual cashless society, and they can go through and shut down your bank account and take your money out your account and all that, and ain't damn thing you can do about it.
Yep.
Yeah, I do have a problem with that. You know what I mean? I do have a problem with it. Everywhere I go, somebody's watching me. You know what I mean? It's bad enough carrying this damn phone around, and every time you sit here and have a conversation with somebody and go on Facebook, the same shit you just talking about pops up.
It's
on
now
there.
advertised.
Right.
Yep.
So they're listening to everything. You know what I mean? Your smart TVs is picking up shit. Anything that's Bluetooth capable is picking up. Why?
And you remember why we allowed that, right? Wasn't it over TikTok? Oh, wait, no. Had nothing to do with TikTok on that. Had to do with the Restrict Act that was on the page 350. That's what the whole thing was about, so that they can do that shit to us.
Exactly. And that's exactly what they're doing now. It's so this is, like I said, this is another change that people are going to have to go through. You know what I mean? Whether they do it willingly or they fight against it. You know what I mean? Me, of course, I say fight against it because, I don't need to be surveilled like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Why would I need somebody watching me? I don't even know you. You don't know me. So why would you need to watch me?
Yep.
You know what I mean? Where's the privacy?
It's just government overreach as per usual.
Exactly. And the more that we allow that to happen, the more they're going to do it. You know what I mean? And that's not a political thing that I just said either.
Right.
That's not a right or left situation. That's a right and wrong.
Absolutely.
Situation. I mean? And there's certain things that's going on right now in this day and age that, you got to look beyond the politics. You got to look beyond the bullshit.
Yep.
And there's
the
only
sides.
Right. There's only two things. They're either right or they're wrong. Doesn't matter who it was, who said it, right, wrong.
Motherfucking right. That is exactly what I base my whole shit on.
Mm-hmm.
In politics and in YouTube and all that stuff, it's the same ideology, man. It's all about truth and falsehoods.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I think I'm gonna end it this evening with just like a quick emotional thought. So what I would say is this: if you're feeling that you've been stuck, or maybe it isn't. Hold on, let me go back. If you feel like you've been stuck, you need to realize that it's not because you failed. Maybe it's because the world's changed around you. Maybe it's because one of the blockages that stood in your way, you wasn't able to adapt and go around. And along with that, history kind of shows something that's really, really powerful dealing with that. And that's the people who feel lost at the end of an era are often the same people who help shape what comes next. So maybe you're not stuck. Maybe you're just standing on the edge of a new direction and you just haven't seen it yet. So me, Mike Ball, thank you all for coming out every week. Like, follow, share, subscribe. Please, please, please hit that like button. Go on Mike's page, go on my page. If you haven't subscribed to to Mike's page on my side, go on Mike's, vice versa. Hit the button on both sides. That's what gets it. That's what gets it sent out. Also, hit the QR code at the top up there to the podcast website. It shows a lot of the older shows that we do every week. It updates itself. Got a lot of merchandise, a lot of cool stuff that's on it. If you become a subscriber, you get the link into another section of it that shows a lot of other stuff that you wouldn't even see just going on a regular. It's a whole lot of cooler stuff on the other side. Like I said, everybody, just take heed of the stuff that we're talking about. Like I said, we generally was always talking about the political side and all that, but even with that, we kind of dropped it back a little bit to talk about the emotional side of this.
Right.
What is it that
psychological aspect
we need to be on in order to be prepared for this stuff that is coming? So those of you that's not on the Facebook site, go on the Dominant Effect on Facebook. Got a lot of stuff that we put on there every week as we see stuff and hear stuff. We put it on there. We kind of give you a lot of stuff that goes on throughout the week. And like I said, I appreciate each and every one of you to come in and tune in. And peace and love, and I'll see y'all in 7 days. Go ahead, Mike.
All right. So again, the question is, feeling stuck in life, right? And I think, again, I'll reiterate the aspect of, I think, mismanaged priorities, but also I think people are over busying themselves, thinking that they need to get 10 things done or 20 things or 40 things done a day, whatever the case is. I suggest everybody to go down and select 3 things to do for the day. Don't make it 10, 15, 30, and just consistently get 3 really good things done a day, So anyways, thank you all for being here. Much love, honor, respect, everybody. On my side, we're going to be rating our buddy Grid One Motorsports. He's doing his gun prattle show right now, so make sure you guys let him know we're coming through with the raid. Until next week, of course, we'll be here in the next 7 days. So we'll see you guys here very soon, and God bless everyone. See ya.